Hey friends, welcome to the 10 Laws Podcast with East Forest. I'm East Forest. Welcome. Happy solstice. It's the darkest day of the year, and by the time you're hearing this, we are already moving into the exhalation, or maybe it's the inhalation. Depends on how you want to look at it, but we're surfing a new wave, my friends, and I think we're all looking for better times in 2020. I mean, look, 2020 has been a really potent, powerful year, so be careful what you wish for, but I do think inevitably we have crossed a Rubicon and we are passaging into a new age. So Happy New Year. Let me be the first to tell you that. This week we have a conversation with Sergio Magaña. He's in Mexico City. He is a healer and a teacher of the Toltec and how do you pronounce it? I always say Nahual, sort of like Carlos Castaneda, but I think it's like Nahuatl. Nonetheless, some deep traditions that he is an expert in, and a teacher and a healer, and we get into all of that, and he has a new book for you to check out. The very end of this podcast, for some reason, I didn't get him telling you how to connect with him, but the best way is on his website, and it's down in the show notes. It's just his name, Sergio Magaña. .com, and you can click on that and see about his books and events when we're doing events and newsletters and all that kind of thing. So check him out. Thank you for subscribing to the podcast. Thank you for reviewing the podcast. If you get a moment to give it the old 5 stars on Apple Podcasts, that always goes a long way. Our most recent review, 5 stars, is from Cheney JM. Thank you, Cheney JM. No relation to Dick Cheney. You say East Forest music and podcasts have opened doors in my mind and heart. Well, wonderful. We are here to open doors and see if you want to walk through. So thanks for giving that review. And again, thank you for subscribing. Other last pieces of business, we still have that gig, 1/16, January 16th in Salt Lake City, is an East Forest ceremony concert. Yes, you heard me right. This is a real-world event with full of our COVID practices and practitioners and the like. You can read all about it on eastforest.org. Grab a ticket. This is an epic event that I'm rehearsing for every day, trying all sorts of new things. So I look forward to seeing those of you who will be able to make it out or feel called to the event on January 16th, 2020. And we also, just now on the solstice, released a virtual reality / video amazingness that David Lobser put together. It's called Visitations. It's on YouTube. It's basically right now a playlist of incredible super high def visualizations that accompany the entire Spores album. So you can dive into that at youtube.com/eastforestmusic. But if you have an Oculus or some kind of VR headset, I believe it's in those sort of VR stores where people get your virtual reality apps or games. How old man do I sound right now? I clearly have never done that. I've tried virtual reality headsets, but I really don't know how you buy the games or the apps or the things or the widget-a-bots. It's a series of tubes, folks. So check that out. Visitations, David Lobser, East Forest. It's very, very beautiful, and it's an incredible way to experience the album with a visual format. So it's also will be on social media. Instagram, East Forest, and Facebook, East Forest Music. The only other thing I want to say is thank you for all the merch support, the things you've been purchasing, the Ram Dass prints, the perfume oils, the Spores vinyls, and the other things that we have. My dad continues to ship them out. They probably won't make it for Christmas if you do it right now, but hey, New Year's gift, people still have birthdays. I just wanted to say thanks for that support. It's been a hell of a year. Next week for the podcast, I might do my traditional AMA, even though I've kind of been doing those on Instagram Live. But we'll see. We'll come up with some kind of interesting way to end the year with the podcast. I am plowing through so many things at the end of the year, like projects and collaborations and all things that I'm excited to spring forth into the new year with our whole family. including I'm recording tons of podcast conversations with some amazing people. So I can't wait to share that with you in 2021. So we will do that, my friends. We will do that. But for now, let's just dive into this great conversation with Sergio Magaña. Well, Sergio Magaña, thank you for joining me. Are you in Mexico City right now?
Very close, in a town called Tepoztlan, with a pyramid to get inspired.
Yeah, so my partner, Rada, she's been down to Teotihuacan many times. She's actually going there in 2 weeks as part of a retreat. It's been a big part of her kind of background and spiritual journey.
Okay. Yeah, Teotihuacan is a wonderful place. Actually, all the, for example, where I am now, that is Tepoztlan, and all of there have similar cultures because they share like the language, the Nahuatl. So the culture is very similar, and the roots.
Yeah. So I have some questions, but before we do that, could you just give us a quick, brief background on sort of like, because you've written a new book and you've written some other books that have to do with Aztec calendars and teachings and Toltec teachings, which is, I want to dive into that. But if you could just give us an overview of what you consider to be your lineage and your background with that.
Okay. Actually, I was surrounded by indigenous wisdom since I was a child because my mother worked, and so I was really raised by my nanny, that she was the daughter of an indigenous healer of a group that they are named the Otomis. So I grew seeing all this kind of wisdom, more into curanderism or healing things, like smudging, cleansing with the egg, and many things, reading about dreams. So I always respected a lot the indigenous wisdom. And then when I grew up, and of course you forget, you go to normal things, well, what people think are normal things, and I wanted to be an actor. And like that, I did a casting to be the host of a spiritual radio show, and I was the one that was chosen. And from there, I was like almost 20 years in the radio. And in that show, we were interviewing people from different lineages, from Kabbalah, Buddhism, and many, many different things, and energy. And I think, I don't know exactly when, but something changed completely my life, because one of the listeners was my main teacher of the Mexican tradition, that his name is Hugo Garcia, or Hugo Nahui. He heard the show and he said, he is the one that is going to transmit the information of my lineage that has been passed for more than 1,000 years, from master to student, to the world. And then he went, because in that radio show we were sponsoring workshops, and he went to one of them, and he was like interrupting a lot, a little bit annoying. But then in the break he came to me and he told me, I didn't come to learn anything. I came to teach you. Of course. Yeah, of course I didn't believe it at the beginning, because in this spiritual world, sometimes you see people that is a little bit crazy, that they think that they are receiving messages. And
all the time.
Yeah. So then he came a second time, and it was intriguing, because every time that he interrupted the class, it sounds kind of interesting. And at the end, the third time, actually I told him, okay, let's go for lunch, and so that you can tell me whatever is the message of your lineage. And then in that lunch, he explained me the mathematics of the Toltec and Aztec calendar, the suns of P, and the changes. Actually, almost everything that I wrote in the book that you are mentioning was told me my first lesson with him. So actually, then I thought, yeah, he came to teach me, and he started teaching me once a week, and then he introduced me to his other best friend, that is other keeper of the tradition, Xolotl or Jose Luis Chavez, that he taught me specifically in the tall lineage of dreaming. Between both, and then they came other of their friends that gave me certain lessons, began teaching me individually, like for almost 10 years. And I am really, really, really thankful with the life and with that radio show. Actually, Hugo is quite funny because he told me that he has promised, because for a job he drove like his bus, a passenger's bus, and he said, I am only going to teach the ones that come to my bus. And he said, you came through the radio.
Well, is this remarkable that you think? I mean, do you have a different perspective on it now, 10 plus years later, on why it was you? You know,
Yeah, in the beginning,
it's remarkable.
Yeah, I was so strange, and I didn't believe until it was happening, and I saw the things really, really like solid and lineages and information that wasn't written anywhere else, and that then I believed. And now I'm quite touched doing this interview yesterday and today that I have been doing for the book, because actually Hugo that also told me that the eclipses were really, really important, because they may take you to fortune or misfortune. And in his birthday and in the eclipse of 2 days ago, he had a stroke, actually, and he left me a message. He's still unconscious. He hasn't passed away, but to keep sharing what he taught me to the world. So I am a little bit like, I feel to be speaking about this weird, because now, and I felt so strong, like the mentor of my life. And okay, but life goes on.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. That's we're recording this on December 4th and December 2nd. I knew about that eclipse. I was down in the desert in southern Utah, and I was a very, very dark place, like literally dark. And I saw the moon rising over the hill, and I remember talking about it with Radha about the eclipse happening that night. I remember she was saying it was a great night for sort of letting things go, or transmutation. I don't know where she was pulling that from, but it seems like this leads to my next question, which is, you mentioned that these teachings you received and you're transmitting now has something to do with the Aztec calendar and also Toltec teachings. Could you just first tell us a bit the difference between those two? Because I've always thought of the Aztec tradition as a great civilization, but also one that was quite violent, and there's a lot of confusion around that. And I think about the Toltec traditions as sort of almost a different timeline. And maybe how do those teachings overlap, or do they?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because a lot of people around the world is confused. Actually, if we say Aztec calendar, is not even Aztec. Okay, it is named Aztec calendar because in the Aztec times they carved the famous sunstone, and that's why it got the name of that culture. But that is the recapitulation of many, many different civilizations, that what they shared was like a language that is named Nahuatl. So it's the Nahua lineage, and it came from the Teotihuacans that were we were talking about Teotihuacan. Then where I am now, Tepoztlan, also the Toltecs that were in Tula, in between the 900 and I think the 1200 after Christ. And finally, the ones that got all the information from these civilizations were the Aztecs. But a very example that an example that I always have thought is that the Toltecs were, if we think about Europe, like the Greeks, like giving the base and refining the knowledge. And then the Aztecs became a little bit like the Romans, that got the same knowledge, but with a little bit more of violence, conquering other territories and everyone that we know. But I think the example is perfect. But actually what we get from the Toltecs comes from the Aztecs, because they also said that they came from the Toltecs, and the Toltecs from the Teotihuacans, and like that.
Okay. So, given that information, a lot of people in New Age circles went through this whole 2012 thing with the Mayan calendar. So we're throwing another kind of people in there and talking about like the fifth Baktun, and sort of, I've heard it described almost like sort of a galactic alignment where we're in a spiral arm, a flocculent arm of the galaxy, and it's that in itself is spinning and turning, and it is also going around, and almost like we're passing through the plate of the actual galaxy in essence. Like there's an actual physical alignment to it, maybe in an astrological sense, cosmological. And how does all this line up with these different calendars and timelines together? Do they have a commonality of direction that speaks to this moment in time we're in now, which to me feels like a great transition, a time of great change across the world? How does this meet up?
Yes. Okay. The first calendars that were discovered, at least, or were done in Mexico, come from a culture that was in the center of Mexico, the Mixtecs and Zapotecs, that they were in Oaxaca. From there, one group went to the north and the other to the south, and they developed, the ones of the south, the Mayan civilization with the Mayan calendar. The ones of the north went to the Nahua lineage that gets the Toltecs and the Aztecs. So the long count that was very important for the Mayans in the 2012 is a cycle of 26,500 years that actually it was seen by many other cultures, is what the Egyptians named the precession of equinoxes. In the Western astrology is the same count, the one that they split it into the 12 astrological signs that gives you the eras, the Pisces era, the Aquarius era. And I don't know why, in the difference between, because the Mayan and the Toltec Aztec calendar are similar counting. For example, in groups of 13 days, like kind of weeks, like what they could be considered months are of 20 days. So they have very similar principles, but the long count for the Mayans was split in 5. For the Toltecs was split in 4. And that's what made the difference. And that's why they have like different ends or starting points. So, for example, the cycles of the Mayans, of what they call the kins, that are like suns for us, are of 5,000 years and 100 something. And for the Toltec culture, because they said that the 4 was the main, the number that was repeating in the universe again and again, because of 4 elements, for example, 4 moments of the day, dawn, midday, sunset, midnight, also 4 phases of the moon, and 2 solstices and equinoxes to become a cycle of a year. So they split everything of their counts into 4. And that's why we get a different number.
Okay. And how is there an alignment that you're seeing that speaks to the situation, or just sort of what's happening now energetically on our planet?
Yeah, I will tell you. When I when I met Hugo and he told me about the other count, actually, like the Aztecs, had not so much good reputation in the spiritual world. So the only count that was taken, that's being watched, was the Mayan count. So actually, but then he told me that it wasn't necessary, that the Mayan count was wrong, because the alignment was really important. But then he asked me to go to a temple that is also close to Mexico City, that is called, in a place named Xochicalco. That is so beautiful. If anyone may visit after everything of this virus finishes. And there is a temple of the Quetzalcoatls. Quetzalcoatl in Mayan is the equivalent of Kukulkan. The wise men, the wise ladies that they were like in a meeting, and you see different races. Some were clearly like all from the Olmec lineage, that they look more Africans. Some of like the Mayan faces, others more like from the center of Mexico, and they are together for an adjustment of the calendar. And he told me that in the past it was very often, not very often, but every certain time, at least every 52 years, the wise men of the different groups joined to adjust the calendar to new dates, and to correct things that probably were wrong. And he and me, we thought that the Mayan date of the 2012 didn't have the previous adjustments to say what was next. And actually, in that temple, it is quite, because then I learned how to read codexes, the ancient Mexican scripture, pictographic scripture. You see a lot of symbols of a crocodile, that means the earth, eating like a ball. Those are like moon eclipses. And then you see carved in that temple also different ones in which you have a serpent holding like a rabbit in the hands, and an eagle. That means the moon between the sun and the earth, that are solar eclipses. So seeing that temple, I didn't have any doubt anymore that the eclipses were the starting and ending points of everything, because it's all over the temple. And then when he explained me his count, but it was like 15 years ago, he told me that the shift between what we are considering the fifth sun to the sixth started in July of 1991 with a full solar eclipse that was seen from Hawaii, parts of the States, Mexico, and that the first 20 years of that shift were going to be everything in our outside was going to change. But like he told me that in the 2005, so it was already happening. All the shift because of technology, cell phones, internet, and that. So in the beginning, I questioned it. I said, okay, yeah, there has been a complete shift in the past 20 years, but in the past years, but it's already happening. Then he told me that the middle point between the fifth and the sixth sun, that in order to understand, that is very important, the fifth sun, the one that is the period of 6,000 of years that we are finishing, it is considered a sun of light. What does that mean? Of what in the tradition is called, for the ones that read Castaneda, the tonal, when we are awake. So when we're awake, normally we have our eyes opened. So we put everything, our perception goes outside. And normally in those suns, it are very good for God, like God is placed outside, are very good for religion. Medicine is outside, also for doctors, for plants, for anything that heals you. Satisfaction. We need to conquer things. We need to be loved. Everything is outside. And for the majority, there is always certain minority group that keeps the information of the other cycle. And now we're going to other sun, that is a sun of the night, or the Nahual, that it would be like if we were like with closed eyes sleeping. So we have to look inside. And he told me that it was going to be like the transition from the outside to the inside, that religions will start like losing power, many things, and that we had to see, first of all, our unconsciousness, our underworlds where our mind is trapped, our dreams, and many of those predictions that he told me. Okay, I just got them like okay, maybe yes, maybe not. But he was really clear that after the alignment of the 2012, it was going to start the final shift for the count of the Central Mexico of 9 years, in which they were going to be really challenging because, well, like a species, we were going to cross through the underworlds. And I remember that, of course, that starts in 2013, because 2012 is the last. It was at the end of the year that the alignment happened. So his prophecies started like in 2013. So in 2013, the first thing that it was said that people were going to start from seeing outside to see inside. And
Right.
then when it happened, he told me, haven't you seen what happened with the mobile phones? That like it's a very long process. It wasn't going to be immediately, but that most of the people in the next years stopped looking really outside and began looking in the middle to cell phones. And it, for me, when I thought about that, I said, wow, it's really happening. And eventually it's going to happen something in order that people that is looking still to cell phones go completely inside. But technology was like a first like glimpse of what was happening. And then we analyzed all the underworlds one by one, and everything is happening. Repetitive patterns like nationalism, like fear of change, and to try to get things like in the past with all these nationalist movements like Brexit, and in America, everywhere. Also now is recognized that the influence of the ancestors through the epigenetics. So all the things that that we analyzed together, like the underworlds, were happening. But
Okay.
for me, it wasn't so strong the information until we analyzed the eighth underworld, that in the past was described like the one of the complete darkness. And and he told me that they were going to fit each of them in one of the years, and that went to 2020. So, complete darkness. What does that mean? That you have to stop. That you don't know where is the path. And what happened with the planet last year, or this year, we had to stop. We had to look to our inner vision. And actually, the thing that he told me in that first session, actually, that impressed me more, is like, normally the suns, the periods of thousands of years, they have like an equivalent, metaphorically, like moments of the day. So, for example, some could represent from the dawn to the midday, the others from the midday to the sunset. The fifth, the one that is finishing, represented from the sunset to midnight. Normally, when they start with the sunlight, they have a tendency much more for masculine forces, to be very patriarchal, and everything that we lived through the three major religions and everything. And then he told me that like these ones, especially the ones that start at midnight, they have a tendency to be more feminine. Why? Because the night is feminine, the moon and the world of the dreams, it has much more a tendency to the feminine side, and the earth actually. And he told me that with the eight underworld, the feminine forces will begin expressing the imbalance that was created in the past thousands of years, starting with the earth, that would create infections and lack of abundance. When I saw that and that everything matched, I said, oh, wow. So it's really happening. And probably the Mayan date didn't have the last adjustment to see what was going to happen until 2021, until 2026, and the next dates that the wise men of people of those times also joined after the Mayan decay.
Okay. So a lot of information there. So I'm hearing you say that we're shifting into a time of introspection. We're shifting more, like crossing a curve into looking inward as opposed to outward. And is that like, I'm assuming over, like we're beginning that process, or is that a long-term process? Or is this like thousands of years, or is this like a period of shorter time?
The complete process lasts 6,000 years. But at the end, with the dawn of the sun, again, people will start looking outwards.
Right.
So it's like a mechanism like the days. So the complete process to look inwards will be like 5,000 years. But it has been really, really accelerated in the past 20-something years. And it's going to be more accelerated in the next years.
Okay.
And also, sorry.
Go ahead. Yes, continue.
And also that includes his spirituality, because in the second part of the shift, also a lot of people has been looking inside from answers, from spirituality,
yes,
from their power of creation. That didn't happen before. Everyone was really happy just by having a family and a good job and these kind of things. So the shift is going to be it's quick, actually, not complete because it's a long process. And at the end, like in 5,000 years, it's going backwards to look outwards again.
Well, I certainly feel it, and I feel that we all feel we're in it, and we can look around and see the shift and the change. So what are some of the things you write about dreams and some exercises we can do to help align ourselves with this process? Tell me more about how we can, what we can do to make this an easier process or less painful.
Yeah. Actually, one of the main expressions of our inner self is our dreams. So, and most of the people, I don't know when, have denied this power, because even in the Bible and from the prophets and everyone, it was said that almost all the information was, they got it from dreams, even from Einstein, the relativity theory. Many, everywhere is the importance of dreams. But nowadays, people have been disconnected probably because of looking outwards. So actually because when I said, for the ones that read Castaneda, I heard you say yes. So probably you read him. I don't know. I'm just assuming.
Yeah, a long time ago. I remember my very first album was going to be called Into the Nagual, and I was inspired from those early Castaneda books. But that was a big, important cultural moment in the 70s when those books came out.
Yeah, and actually, I honor a lot Castaneda because of putting that information out. I think in the way of a novel, because it's very difficult to practice. But when you find a lineage that is doing it, actually, Nahualism, Nahual comes from a Nahuatl word that is nehua, I. So it's really like, today it would be named like the science of the real me or the real I. And it's the energetic body that we use for dreaming and the one that we will be death. So a kind of a spirit, but also the dream body. So Nahualism, it was like the art of controlling your dreams, and through the dreams create the waking state. That in the last part of the culture was only taught to rulers, to warriors, and to tlamakaskis that were the kind of priests. So actually, it's a complete body of knowledge of what to do before falling asleep in order to dream plan what you would like to plan to dream in order to get a result. In the beginning, when I started with Ocelocoyotl and with Hugo taking classes, they taught me this, and I didn't believe it complete. So they were saying me, and you will see that when the 2021 approaches, dreams are going to become much more popular, and that because the people will discover that why we speak like this, that in all the languages of the world we say the girl of my dreams, my worst nightmare, the house of my
Dreams come true.
yeah. So it means that you dream it before they happen, but also what you do in your waking life fits your dreams. So it's a combination, but first it starts the dream. And actually, there were like techniques of doing before falling asleep in what now science calls the hypnagogic, in which you were, for example, very very easy. It can be like, today I dream with a turtle. That the turtle is an archetype that represents the earth, that gives me abundance. Today I dream with a turtle that gives me abundance. Things like that. But of course, in the book and in certain in my workshops and that, I explain complete how to do it with breathings and that. But in that time, I saw it even silly, because I said, okay, like to say today I will dream with the with the hummingbird and I will find love. It was like a kind of absurd for me. But then they told me, you don't know what you are doing. You are telling to your unconsciousness, to your nahual that has been an undomesticated animal for all your life, to stop dreaming in the way that has been dreaming, and to stop dreaming in the way your ancestors dreamt. That's why we repeat ancestral patterns, to start dreaming things that you want and to give you a result. So it's a complete self-empowerment thing, even if you think it's silly. Then I started practicing, and they began working. And I was so young in that time. I was practicing for business, for pleasures, for money, for all these things. But they started happening, and they didn't happen before. That's when I really began being intrigued about dreams, and to learn this dream planting, also how to conscious sleep. That is how to go through the 4 steps that every night we have before falling asleep. That is to feel heavy, stiff, because you are entering in dream paralysis, and then to feel colder. Normally we lose a little bit of the temperature. That's what we need to cover when we are sleeping. And then finally, when the dream paralysis gets stronger, to begin this classical sound that we do, because it's a little bit harder to breathe, that we have heard in everyone that is sleeping, and to enter directly conscious to the first part of the night, to be able to repair my body, and then when I cut the night during siestas, to lucidity, and to build dreams in order to get what I wanted. And I may tell you that now, 20 years later of that, I am a complete believer, because almost like 95% of the things that I have created in my dreams came into life.
Okay, so let me ask. We often think of dreams as an unconscious process. So how do we consciously communicate with them to plant seeds?
Learning all of this, for example, if you learn, there are many ways to get it. Lucidity in dreams is just to be aware that you're dreaming when you're dreaming. And there are many techniques, for example, that have been explored by science now. Like, for example, every time that something weird happens, or a sound or something, you just look at your hand. Those are like the normal ones. In Nahualism, the Toltec lineage, those ones weren't used. You learn exactly how to slow the heart and the cycles of your body, and begin feeling like heavy, then stiff, entering dream paralysis, then your temperature drops, and finally you enter into the change of the rhythm of the breath. That it sounds very sophisticated, but it was what was done in the ancient traditions. For example, to the ones that were the initiates, for example, to be in Egypt, like being in a sarcophagus and being able to slow down your cycles in order to survive. That from the Mexican tradition comes from the eagle and jaguar warriors. Then when I started touring around the world and I started teaching these techniques to people, many people that were in Tibetan Buddhism approached me and told me, "Are you authorized to teach that?" And I said, "By whom?" They said, because those is what is some of the most sacred things. That, for example, there is a lineage in Tibetan Buddhism that they are named the Deloks, that they are only ladies, that they learn how to slow down the heart in order to enter like in a flat line, and that's how they got the Tibetan book of the life of the dead, what was happening after. Fortunately, our tradition, the Mexican, was almost destroyed. Not fortunately, but it was kept in small groups, and there is not a structure. If you get information, no one authorizes. Actually, my teacher, Hugo, like I told you and others, encouraged me to keep sharing this. And then when you are in those states, it's very weird in the beginning, because you are in both, because it was like Castaneda said, joining the tonal and the nahual, the conscious and the unconsciousness. So you are able to, sometimes in my beginning, I was so I felt so strange, because I could hear everything in the waking world, people talking, but at the same time I was snoring, and at the same time I was dreaming. And then I learned that it was how to join them. And now science has proved that when you are in a lucid dream, and for example, you do like exercises, like so that people understand, not with turtles and crocodiles, but to hold your inner child and to hug it, you have a lot of more healings than the ones that you are awake, because a lot of more areas of your brain are switched on. So you
It
are
seems
using
that would be
a
hard
lot,
to learn, or
a lot more.
I mean, I think for a lot of us.
Sorry.
Sorry, we cut out there. I was just saying, it seems like that would be hard to learn, some of these techniques to work with dreams, sort of crossing the boundary between consciousness and unconsciousness. Is it challenging?
No, of course it's an effort. Sometimes, but you could learn how to do it in one workshop. Then life comes with the practice, because how to fall asleep without losing consciousness could be taught in one day. Dream planting also. It doesn't mean that the day that you say that you will dream with the jaguar and the jaguar will heal your addictions is going to happen. It takes time sometimes, but for the other ones, it's just no. I think it's even easier to learn that meditation and many things that people have been trying to learn in the waking state for the spirituality, because it's tangible. You feel the things in your body. You hear yourself snoring. It's not that difficult.
Hmm. I like this phrase, dream planting. It's like gardening in your inner life. That's a really beautiful idea. Does gratitude play a role in any of this when you're in those subtle states?
Yeah, but it's like you're asking yourself, because you are the creator of your dreams, is not that emphasized that you are thanking yourself for giving it to you. Only when you're using like outer spirits, like the earth or something like that, you thank a lot. But when you are doing it for you, is like uh, uh, it could be like giving me thanks for allowing me to learn these things and to give me beautiful things. But normally we don't use it unless we are using other external energies like the moon or the night or the sun.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so you describe how we work with dreams, and I think you also have some exercises you describe in the book about also how to sort of align ourselves with this shift as we're moving into a more inside state. Are there any other like exercises you'd like to share or you could describe to us now that could just help our listeners get a taste or just something they can actually use in their lives to feel like they're more in flow with this natural process?
Yeah, of course. And I will give you a small example of what happened. I had been working with this, like I told you, from 25, so 2005. So it's 15, 16 years. And I had been aligned with the night, with the moon, with the earth, because we're part of the tradition. I never thought what was going to happen. But in the last March, like everyone, suddenly the pandemic started. I had like dates all over the world for 1 year, and suddenly from one day to the other, I didn't have a job, like many people,
Right.
and and like that, and suddenly I began seeing that the things that I had been planting in my dreams before, like doing a video game and other things that I'm working in, they completely started flowing as soon as it started. And that's when I believed more, because I was a complete witness that everything I had been dreaming with came into or is coming into life in this process when it's supposed to be everything is stopped. And because I was already doing like the work without knowing of the new sun, of doing with my working with my dreams, creating a relationship with the earth. That, for example, one very if we, because from the past thousands of years, everyone has asked everything to the heavens, uh, almost everyone, and we thank God or for any abundance and that, and actually the abundance comes from the earth. All the food, all the medicines, all the clothes from the earth, from the animals. So if you start even building in a simple way, for example, if we accept that abundance comes from the earth, and then in your mind, every time that you pay something or you get paid or something, you just say, in your honor, Mother Earth, in your honor. Not like the crazy ones outside that everyone hears you because you don't need to call the attention, but you start building this kind of relationships. For example, also the earth has, through our right leg, like the ability has like two different powers, if we can call it like that. One that in Nahuatl was named Tlazolteotl, that is the power of the earth of taking what you don't need anymore, and through the right leg, Tlazocteotl, to give you the precious essence. So, for example, if you just place your right leg in front of the other, sitting on that, I can ask the earth like, okay, Mother Earth, take my headache or my physical issues and like that, and then just say, I accept you to take the offering, and begin breathing in, breathing out, and you will be releasing. And those cleansings are the main ones because they go through the spine. And if they go through the spine, they take you like the old winds in the central channel that creates like the chakras for that people know them like that. In the Nahuatl tradition, we name them totonalcayos. And then you breathe in and out, releasing from all the spine all the things that you're offering. And then you change and you place the other one, the left leg in the front, and then you just ask, and your legs will be like roots, like a tree, to give you the precious essence from the earth. Just ask and come the precious essence. You will feel it. And if you take it to your navel, that's a place of abundance. And then you are creating again the umbilical cord with the earth that will feed you. So there are many simple things to be done to reestablish a good relationship with the feminine, with your dreams, and to have a good time. That's why I wrote that book. First of all, because I had written it a smaller version in 2011 with the other dates that actually was very criticized because I was the only one that was talking about different dates. And then my publishing house, like they knew that I wrote that one, they say, okay, let's do other one. But mainly to provide tools, simple tools for people to go through this shift in harmony, not with suffering. Because I have always thought, or you learn through suffering, or you learn through knowledge. So to learn through knowledge and knowing that it was the cosmic dream, and to drive through it in the best way with grace.
Thanks. I want to ask you one last question, because I'm always interested in this kind of stuff. But I saw some mentionings about UFOs, and that's not, what I would think of as internal or on the Earth. It's more like something more galactic. But maybe I'm wrong, and I just want to ask you: is there a way that links in to all of this, or do you want to say anything about that? Because it's fascinating to me.
Yes, I always try to keep my my books and everything pure in the tradition, not mixing UFOs and that. But for example, Hugo from the first time has been, and also Ocelocoyotl, talking about the Galactic Brothers, and also this shift has been programmed through the Galactic Brothers, that are the extraterrestrials, and actually he told me that in this Vatican Concilium that was supposed to happen this year, it was going to be officially accepted. When just before the initial date of the Concilium, then the NASA revealed certain information about UFOs, like kind of official. But then the Concilium was postponed to next year. So according to what he told me, in that Concilium, it's going to be really accepted, the existence of life outside the Earth, and that they had been part of the entire movement and the dream of the cosmos.
What part has that played in our development, according to these lineages?
It's complex because some say, okay, some of them, like Ocelocoyotl, mainly my other teacher, was said that many of the keepers of ancient traditions were in touch with them in order to get certain information and guidance. And from Hugo, he said that they came from the future, that they were like a possibility in our future of become our greatest destiny, like a species, and that they were guiding us through this shift in order to achieve that.
Okay. So why? It seems like you said that there's been more of an official governmental slow disclosure, acknowledgement that there's such and such going on. But at the same time, it's just, why is that going through like governments? I'm just confused on. I'm just trying to place like what's happening now, how we're getting more information through official channels about UFOs, but then trying to reconcile like what that all means and how that relates to this great change and transition we're going through on the planet and personally, in this introspective shift, going inside, as you said, paying more attention to dreams. Like, where's the crossover with the UFOs, or is there one? It seems like there is, but I'm trying to connect the dots.
Okay, dreams, actually, they are like the main way to have a connection between future, past, and present, like simultaneous. Mm-hmm. So in dreams, it's very easy to have prophetic dreams to go to the future and that. But this is a dream. This will be going really, really deep, but I will tell. Okay, I will tell you what I know and what I have been practicing.
Great.
So to see the reality, like the third dimension, like we believe, it's only an angle of perception of our eyes that they get to get solid objects. If we move the eyes, for example, to peripheral vision, that's why Egyptians and Mexicans only drew people in profiles and that. Or like in the Mayan way that they were doing, like crossing the eyes, looking to the nose, like we played when we were children, and going up to what would be like the third eye. Then you enter in other realities. You see things disappearing, or you may enter in different times. So actually, it is said, but that only the ones that know perfect how to. That's why we work in obsidian mirrors in water, like for example the chacmolds that are in the top of the pyramids, to be able to enter in the mirrors in the future, and that are the only ones that are able to see the extraterrestrials live, because you got the angle, the exact angle of perception. That actually is very interesting because I had been learning and working with the obsidian mirror, for example, to disappear, to don't see your image and to go back to the first energy, the creator. Things that interest me more than future and that. But if they are doing an EEG when you're disappearing your image in the mirror, it looks like you're in delta, like totally in deep sleep, and you are not. So I am completely sure that the movement of the eyes give you different realities of perceptions. So some of the ones that are able to get the exact angle that actually they should also practice in their dreams and in the water or the mirror that are halfway dreams and this reality, will be able to see these realities, but the other ones not, because they have just one angle of the eyes.
And how does that relate to the UFOs? I'm just a little confused.
Because people that look normal, because to see solid objects, we create a certain focus. That is a kind of triangle that looks into the center. In the very basic lessons to see auras and energies, they tell you to look to the void, to begin to practice in peripheral vision. So, what I know from the tradition is that if you get certain angle, then you will be able to see the UFOs and to see them personally, not the ones that that is. So it's related to the training. So what you are able to see in an obsidian mirror in water, that's why in all the traditions, and you see like seers in spheres in water, and the witches in the thing that they were cooking, because actually those are portals. So if you get to the exact angles of the UFOs and that, then you're able to see them and to get in touch with them.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and one more question. and all these teachings that were passed down to you, especially in Mesoamerica, what role did psilocybin or the mushroom play in any of this? Because I know that's a tradition that's largely from there, and I want to know how that was spoken to or utilized.
Yeah, it comes from Oaxaca, where the first cultures come. And exactly what the power plants do is to join your tonal and nahual so that you may enter into ensoñación, dreaming while awake. For example, for the lineages that in which I learned, it may be used, but it was said that only if the plant finds you, not if you look for the plant, to open certain perceptions. But then you must achieve those perceptions by yourself. So it was like an opening door, but it's really, really sacred. But it's not the complete path. It is like first, it can be like a glimpse of what you may see, and then you must, like I tell you, learn. That's why if you see all the Olmec giant heads, they have the eyes in different positions. Sometimes one looking to the right, to the left, and it's not for aesthetics and not because they are showing you the different positions to see the different realities.
Thanks so much, Sergio. Check out his website. Again, that's in the show notes, sergiomagaña.com. It's a deep world, as you know, a deep tradition, and it's wonderful to just learn from someone who's knows all about it firsthand and is a master. This song you're hearing in the background is called Washed. It's from Spores. Again, you can check out the Spores VR/visualization wonderfulness, otherwise known as Visitations, on YouTube or in various VR sites, and you can go deep. But you can also watch it at East Forest Music. That's our handle on YouTube. See you guys hopefully in Salt Lake City if you can make it for the January 16th ceremony concert. There's lots of information, eastforest.org. Thank you for subscribing to the podcast and all that jazz. Listen, guys, we're in for some stuff. We're in for some continued intensity in the world, pretty much forever. But mostly, we got to get through this winter, and I think you can do it. So I just want to encourage you to stay strong, keep breathing. Remember that you are perfection as is, and you can emanate that and reflect that and receive that and hear that with every step you take and every breath you take. You just got to keep walking that walk. Don't take any shit, but if you do, you know what to do. Do it with grace.
Say